So, my name's Alex Sabo. Welcome, everyone. I'm adjusting to the idea that I can't see the audience. So, uh, I'm see that looks like 31 participants are here. So, let me tell you a little bit about myself. And this is the last, as I understand it, in the Build Your Armor series sponsored by the Wellness Program at BHS, at Berkshire Health Systems. And our topic for today is cultivating your resilience, 5 tools. And before I put up some slides, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a psychiatrist by training. I'm also a 500-hour Kripalu yoga teacher, and I'm the director of medical education for Berkshire Health Systems, and I'm an associate professor of psychiatry at UMass Medical School, and I have a role training psychiatrists as well. So those are some of the hats I wear, and resilience practice is very important to me personally, and I hope today to give you some tools that you can take with you right from here. 3 of them are going to be practices that we'll use: a breathing practice, a mindfulness or meditation practice, and a movement of the spine, gentle movement where we incorporate breathing and witnessing or mindfulness focus to the movement of the body, that are all proven, well researched, and validated methods to reduce stress and increase resilience. I'll also give you 2 cognitive strategies, and you may have heard about some of these in the work you've already done if you've come to some of the other Building Your Armor presentations. Uh, One of the cognitive strategies are really the fundamentals of resilience work, and the other is about self care. 3 domains of self care that are proven to foster resilience and enhance your ability to cope with the stresses of your life. So I'm going to throw my slides up now. And as I mentioned, the title is Cultivating Your Resilience, 5 Tools That May Help. Uh, so, as I explain what resilience is, let's talk about the context we're in right now. We're in the flu season. The COVID-19 pandemic is heating up again, and we're trying to do those things that can enhance our immunity, take good care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically. There are also other events going on right now. We're in the midst of a disputed election. The country's quite polarized. There are economic challenges fostered by the pandemic. There's been social unrest, and we've had to socially isolate more and more. And the governor's putting out a stricter order beginning on Friday for even more masking and social isolation. So there's a lot of stress on many of us right now. Stress is part of life, and we can't be strong without stress. If I want to make my biceps stronger, I put some weights in my hand, I stress the muscle back and forth, a little bits of fiber break down, the muscle repairs itself, and in a few days I have a stronger muscle. The idea here is that stress is part of our lives, and it will make us stronger if it doesn't make us sick or kill us. So we want to be able to metabolize stress. We want to be able to integrate stress. And I'm going to be giving you 5 tools to do that over this next 45, 50 minutes. The traditional description of resilience is that it refers to the bending of something and the bouncing back. If you bend a resilient green branch of a tree, it'll bend and come back. That's one concept of resilience. But the way I'm describing it today is resilience has to do with integrating the intensity of your life in a way that makes you stronger. So let's dig in a little bit here. These forces that are hitting us right now quite hard, COVID-19, the flu season, this epic election, polarizations, economic challenge, social unrest, are creating all kinds of intensity: fear, frustration, discouragement, aches and pains in the body, insomnia, feeling overwhelmed. These kinds of challenges or variations on them are not new to Americans or the people of Berkshire County and other lands of the earth. They've been faced by people for centuries, uh, and throughout history and all over the world. There are practices that we can use, and we'll do some of them today, that'll help us cope with these kind of stressors. And my goal is, as each of us is facing a certain set of these stressors and collectively we're facing them, what can we do to support our own well-being and our families, our friends, our co-workers, our neighbors? How do we make the world a better place by using these tools? So the first tool is the breath. The breath is always with us, and we can use it. We often breathe in a shallow manner and don't use the full excursion of the lungs, the three-part breath. So we're going to practice that. And we're going to practice something that happens once we settle into a deep breath. We develop the ability to witness experience with curiosity, no judgment, no need to change a thing. Then we're going to, those are two researched tools that for many disorders, well, let's say chronic pain, if we use simple breath practice that we're going to use, three-part breath, dirga, pranayam, if we use that, we can teach that to a patient with chronic pain. And in 20 minutes, that patient will know how to use that breath and create a 25% reduction in chronic pain. If I add to that the sixth limb of yoga, which is dharana, focused awareness, focusing the mind on one thing, noticing when it wanders, calling it back to the focal point. That can be taught in 20 minutes, maybe one or two sessions. You put that together, that's a second 25% reduction in chronic pain. And you can teach somebody relatively quickly to use one or both of those tools for a 50% reduction. We can also use those if you don't have chronic pain. We can use it to manage the intensity of fear, of anxiety, of insomnia, of the mind telling a story over and over again that seems you can't get out of. You can use these tools like that. We're going to practice in a little training session I'm going to do with you right now. First, using the breath, deepening it. Then I'm going to add witnessing. And then we'll move the spine in its natural movements: flexion, extension, lateral flexion, and then a twisting movement. Those six movements will often just integrate the body, help you feel a lot better. We'll do this little exercise in our chair, and we'll try it now. So at home or in your office, wherever you are participating, we've got 43 participants on board today. I'm Wherever you are, in your home or your office, find a comfortable seat in your chair. Rock side to side on your sits bones, the ischial tuberosities that are at the bottom of your glutes. You can feel them press into your chair. And then let your spine rock back and forward, and find a point where it settles. You feel centered. Next, place your palms up. Let the backs of the hands and the backs of the forearms press down into your thighs. That'll allow your shoulder blades to naturally come together, your chest to open. It just sets you in a posture where it's easier to breathe deeply. Once you do that, just release and get comfortable. Now turn your awareness inward and begin to notice your breath. You can cast your eyes down toward the floor, you can close them, or some people just like keeping their eyes open. Any of those eye postures are fine. Notice your breath, the inhale and the exhale. And as you do on an inhale, invite your shoulders to scrunch up toward your ears, roll them back, and release down with a sigh. Inhale the shoulders up toward the ears, roll them back, and release with a sigh. And try that one more time. Inhaling up, back, letting go of any of that tension in the upper back or neck, and let out a long exhale. Now place your right hand on your belly and your left hand over your heart. And as you breathe in deeply, notice that at the beginning of the inhale, that the air sort of moves the right hand down by your belly. So just try that for a few breaths. Breathe in deeply. Notice the gentle pushing of the belly away towards the right hand. Now grow your breath. And as you grow your breath, notice that after the belly fills, the middle rib area begins to expand. So try that. Inhaling deeply, belly fills first, then rib area expands. So belly, middle ribs. As you deepen your breath even a little bit more, notice the air fills belly first, then middle ribs, then top of the lungs up by the left hand. So just get the feel of this in your own body right here, right now. Long, deep inhale. Long, slow exhale. Grow your breath. At the top of the next inhale, when the air fills up at the top of the lungs by your left hand, pause for a moment and then begin the exhale. And notice as the air leaves, the left hand presses in closer to the spine, the middle ribs empty, and then the belly empties. When the belly empties, press the belly button toward the spine. See if you can breathe out just a little bit more air and then follow it with a big inhale. So now test this out. You can release your hands down to the armrests or your lap. Try this deep three-part breathing. This is called three-part breath, yogic breath, dirga, pranayama. It's one of the basic breath methods of yoga. It lowers heart rate, lowers blood pressure, turns on the parasympathetic nervous system, the healing process of body and mind. Anytime you feel intensity in your life, physical intensity, emotional intensity, mental intensity, or stress, anytime you feel that, or perhaps it's intensity of being all alone, any of those, when you feel it, try 3 of these deep 3-part breaths and notice what shifts. Now we're going to add to 3-part breathing the second tool to relieve stress. This is the second tool that can decrease chronic pain, for instance, by 25%. It's called dharana, the 6th limb of yoga. It's focused awareness. Later Buddhist practice and mindfulness-based stress reduction took this limb of yoga, the mindfulness, the focusing awareness, and cultivated it as a very basic form of meditation. So call your awareness now to the air moving in and out at the tip of your nostrils. And bring with you a curiosity about that air. Notice the air moving in and out at the tip of the nostrils. And be curious, is it cool air, warm air? Is it moist? Is it dry? Could you detect water droplets in the air? Is it a thin air? There's no right answer. Just keep your curiosity and your noticing on the air moving in and out at the tip of the nostrils. And as you notice the air moving in and out, and just trying to keep your awareness on that tip of your nostril air, notice also when the mind wanders. The mind runs off like a puppy at play. It'll run off to a physical sensation in your body and begin to focus there, perhaps on a sound in the room. It may go to an emotion, something left over from the morning's concerns, perhaps something even from last evening. Notice that. Be curious about it, and then bring the awareness back to the air moving at the tip of the nostrils. When the mind wanders again, it may go to a thought or a story you're telling yourself right now. The mind tells stories. It takes 1,000 facts and picks out 10 and makes up a story about those 10 facts as if they were everything. And we believe in those stories and they help us sometimes. And sometimes they don't serve us well. So just notice what the mind is doing and thank the mind for being the mind and trying to worry about the past and the future and making up a good story that will help. Be curious about your mind, thank it for being itself, and then bring your awareness back to the air moving in and out at the tip of your nostrils. Now shift your awareness to your arms and lift them out in front, palms down. Interlace the fingers and press the palms away. On an inhale, let the arms rise toward the ceiling. Let the chest rise and the gaze toward the ceiling. The back arches slightly. On an exhale, let the arms descend. Let the back round. Chin folds into chest. Notice what you're experiencing. Inhale, arms rise, back arches, chest rises, gaze towards ceiling. Exhale, round like a cat, chin into chest. And try this a couple times on your own. Inhaling on an upward movement, noticing what you feel. Exhaling, releasing down, chin comes to chest. The next time the arms press toward the ceiling, pause and circle the hands on the ceiling so the torso has slight movement in it, and notice any feeling in your body as you do this. Find a pause point and circle the other way. Now press the hands toward the ceiling. Inhale as deeply as you can. And as you inhale, let your crown rise up toward ceiling. Make your spine long. Press the hands toward the ceiling. Then exhale, slowly release with a sigh. Let the arms descend down to the sides of your chair. Just notice. Go inside. Notice, what am I experiencing right now? In my mind, in my body, in my emotions. Just notice. On an inhale, let the left shoulder rise, right arm falls toward the floor. Draw the left shoulder blade back. Breathe into your left ribs. Make the left ribs grow with deep 3-part breath. On an inhale, let the right shoulder rise. Left hand descends. Right shoulder blade draws back. Breathe into the right ribs deeply. Expand the spaces between the ribs with 3-part breath. Exhale the hands down to the side. Inhale the arms out front. Bring the palms together so they touch. Slide the right hand back along the left arm across your chest. Reach it out over your chair behind you. Gaze out over your right shoulder at your right fingertips. Now deepen your breath. 3-part breath. Belly, middle ribs, top of the lungs. Notice what you experience. Bring that right hand back to touch the left. Slide the left hand back. Gaze out over your left shoulder. And again, find your 3-part breath. Belly, middle ribs, top of lungs. Breathe and notice. What am I experiencing? Bring that left hand back to meet the right. Exhale the hands down to your lap. Let out a sigh. Go inside and notice your breath again. Notice your body. What am I feeling in my body right now? Whatever it is, it's okay. Just be curious about it. Then bring your awareness back to your breath. Bring your awareness now to your emotions. What emotion am I feeling? Am I calm? Am I anxious? Am I angry? Am I sad? Am I interested? Am I excited? Whatever you find, just be curious what's there. Notice it. Come back to your breath. Now bring your awareness to your mind. What thought am I having? What story am I telling myself right now? And again, there's no need to judge it. Just be curious. It's fine, whatever's going on. Thank your mind for being the mind. And then come back to the breath, the air moving in and out. Witness that. Now imagine something greater than yourself, whatever that is. Perhaps it's your feet pressing into the floor. You can feel the support of the earth, or your sits bones or thighs feel the support of the chair. Perhaps it's something in nature that gives you comfort. Nature is greater than myself. Perhaps it's something spiritual. Perhaps it's God. Perhaps it's a group I'm part of or not. Just notice, what is greater than I am? Am I connected to that? Am I feeling all alone right now? And whatever you discover, it's okay. It's just you breathing and noticing. Now come back to the feeling of your feet pressing into the floor and feel your sits bones press into the chair that supports you, and either your thighs or armrests supporting your arms. And when you feel the support of floor, chair, arms, legs, whatever's holding you, wiggle your fingers and toes, and then come back into the room and we'll talk about what we just did. Ask one word to well up in you right now that describes your experience at this moment. And so just notice what that is. There's many things it could be. For me, it's noticing a little bit calmer. I've had a stressful morning. I'm worried about the election. There are many things on my mind. And I feel a little bit calmer because I did the practice with you. Now I'm going to ask you to jot down this question, and we'll explain what we did in that practice and how this all fits into your cultivating your own resilience. But the question I've put on the screen is called a true self inquiry. The true self and the false self came from a pediatrician who became a psychoanalyst, Donald Winnicott. And the true self is that part of yourself that feels really alive, connected with your vitality, your life force. So ask yourself, when I feel really alive in my body, like I'm really me, when I'm really absorbed in what I'm doing, what is it that I do? So take a moment to think about that, about yourself, and jot down one or two or three things that really, when you're doing that, you're happy, you're alive, I am me. And there's many different things that might go here. For me, I like stand-up paddle boarding. I like swimming in oceans and lakes. I feel alive. Doing yoga makes me feel very alive. I like riding my bike up Lenox Mountain, riding down it fast and taking the curves and feeling the wind blow on my face and the light coming in at a flat angle at sunrise, going through the trees. Those things make me feel very alive. And when I'm doing those, I'm totally absorbed in that. No past, no future. Children at play do this. The reason I ask you to do this is that as one practices the three-part breath and the centering through the focusing awareness and noticing the way the mind wanders and bringing it back to a focal point, often that practice creates in 2 to 5 minutes a very similar experience to my getting my bike out and riding over to Lenox Mountain and riding up and down, something that might take 2 hours and create a really good body breath experience. I can get there in 2 to 5 minutes of breathing and witnessing, taking a break during the day. Uh, at any moment when intensity is building, you can practice and find that thing that allows you to be your true self. And for many people, there's dancing, gardening, writing poetry, playing the piano, all kinds of things, sports that they like, games that they play. those things that are kind of a challenge, but you can do them and you like to do them no matter what. Those are the things that give you this feeling of being really you. So, the reason I ask you that is that these are the foundations of your own resilience practice to explore these things. So, I put these prompts out on the screen. Where do I experience the intensity I call stress? How do I notice this stress? So, we just went through this. It's part of the yogic tradition to notice the threads of our existence. So, in one way of noticing these threads is they're like a strand of rope that's interwoven, 5 strands, a body strand. What do I feel in my physical body? And then there's a breath strand. What's going on in my breathing? Is am I shallow in my breathing? Am I deep? Am I engaging three-part breath? Am I holding my breath? So body and a breath strand. Then there's an emotional life, the emotions, sadness, anger, fear, anxiety, interest, excitement. That's woven into our experience. And then there's the mind itself, words creating thoughts, thoughts creating stories, our believing the stories. Sometimes the stories help, sometimes they should be let go and a new story made. But noticing the stories. And then the last is this connection to something greater than self. I'm a small self, part of a drop of water in a great ocean of greater self. And these 5 strands are woven into the fabric of our daily experience. And in the practices that lead to resilience, the breath, the witnessing, we create a curiosity about those strands of our experience, allowing ourselves to step out of them, notice them, and return. And this is the process of integration of too much intensity that goes on each day in our life. So I write, how do I notice these experiences of stress that I have, these intensities, body intensities, breath intensities, emotional intensities, thought intensities, story intensities? Am I alone right now, all alone? No one's with me. Or am I connected to something greater and bigger? And I feel the peace that comes with that connection. And we're always flowing back and forth between these moments of aloneness and connection. And then I ask you to think about yourself. What methods do I use to center myself when intensity or stress becomes great? How effective are my methods? Do I want to develop any other tools? Do I want to refine mine? So, this is the nature of what we'll explore over the next bit of time. Now, here are the 5 tools. I've talked about this presentation today is cultivating your resilience, 5 tools. So, we actually practiced so far tool number 3, the 3-part breath, Dirga Pranayama. Tool number 4, focusing awareness, mindfulness, dharana, the 6th limb of yoga, the beginnings of deeper and deeper meditation practice, dharana. We did that. And then gentle movement. We used our breath and our ability to witness experience, and then we tried 6 movements of the spine. Just sitting in our chairs, simply as that. We moved our spine this way, we moved our spine that way. We flexed our spine side to side. Those are 4 movements. And then we twisted. And we used our breath and our witnessing awareness to experience that. And that'll often relieve tension in the body, the stress that's caused by just daily living and the things that happen to us. So we put those 3 to use already. Now I'm going to talk to you about the other 2 tools I wanted to review with you today. This set of self care practices is beautifully illustrated in a paper that came from the Journal of Palliative Medicine more than 10 years ago. And the idea was, how do palliative care physicians who are witnessing so much suffering and death and connecting with their patients and guiding their patients through very difficult situations that often lead to the passing from this life to the next, how do they manage that intensity and stay invigorated in their work, stay alive in it, feeling like they're really themselves, the opposite of burnout? In burnout, you feel like you're not yourself. You feel like you're going through the motions. You feel emotionally exhausted and you feel like your work has no meaning. So, how can you do that kind of intensity of work and still stay eager and present like a child at play? And they answered that question saying three things were very, very important. And these are, I put here as the self care practices. So, self care practice type one are things like uh, sleep, getting adequate sleep, nutrition, healthy food, hydration, exercise. In this COVID-19 pandemic, face masks, hand washing, social distancing, yoga, meditation, s- play, time with family and friends when you can find ways to do that, um, limiting exposure to distressing media. Don't play it over and over again. Get what you need out of 5 or 10 minutes of it, and then let it go. Don't re traumatize yourself. Listening to soothing music. These are the self care practices that I'm sure some of the other speakers talked about. And then I would ask you to just look at which on these do I use, which might I want to add to my practice. That's type one of self care. Type two of self care is, how do I deepen meaningful connections with those who share my work? So, who do I work with? How can I create deeper bonds of friendship and colleagueship with the people I spend so much of my life with? 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. How do we foster the kind of relationships that we want with each other, where we can be supportive to each other, listen to each other, uh, bear stress? There's intense emotion, there's always three tasks: acknowledge the intense emotion, bear it. Humans bear it by sharing it with each other and then putting it in perspective. So, how do I deepen my meaningful connections with those I work with? That's a self care practice that fosters resilience. The third self care practice is to explore the transcendent. And the transcendent is, how am I part of that which is greater than me? How do I discover meaning in my work and in my life by noticing I am a drop in the ocean? What is the ocean I thrive in, that I've merged into and sometimes emerge from? This is this is part of what creates meaning in our lives and allows us to experience the suffering, the losses, the intensities that are part of life, as well as the great joys. So those are three types of self-care practice, and I call those one of the tools of resilience. The second of these tools of resilience, I'm calling resilience practice itself. And I'm going to skip ahead to that slide and then come back to these other ones in a moment. So, the resilience practice itself is, how do I turn the intensity of my life, some challenge I'm facing, into newfound strength? How do I manage it? I take in something that seems like a catastrophe. So it could be the pandemic is hitting. Uh, we have 7 or 8 new patients in the hospital. We have limited testing. It could be what was happening here in March or April, or it could be my partner has broken his or her hip, and now I've got to take care of this person as well as do my job, or whatever the intensity is that's come your way. How do I notice this fear, the tension in my body, the scary thoughts, and get a hold of them and say, this catastrophe is a puzzle. I'm good at solving puzzles. Then, no one solves a puzzle alone. Who is on my team? Who can I count on? My husband, my wife, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my friend at work, my therapist, my physician, my brother, my sister, my adult child, whoever it is, my minister, my rabbi. Who is part of my team that I want to share the challenge I'm facing with? Then the third step in resilience practice is to break the puzzle down into pieces. If a puzzle has 8 or 10 pieces to it, 4 of them or 5 will be within your control, or 4 or 5 will be out of your control. You can't spend too much time on the things out of your control. You can pray about them, you can meditate about them, you can let them go, you can write a letter to your congressman, to your governor, you can do something to sort of address it, but then focus on what can I do day to day. I may not be able to control the outcome of the votes that are being counted right now. But here today, I can do something. I can engage in work. I can take care of a problem in my household. I can go shopping. I can do it in a safe way uh, that does masking and social distancing and washes my hands carefully. There are things I can do, and you do those. Then the last piece is you work tenaciously on the pieces within your control, and you pray and let go of the ones out of your control. This is a fundamental of resilience practice. So if we go back to where we were a moment ago in our little slide presentation, we talked about the 5 tools that I wanted to share with you today. We started the practice with breath, 3-part breathing. 3 of those will allow you to center yourself or ground yourself whenever you're experiencing any kind of intensity, physical, emotional, breathing, mental intensity, aloneness. Just find that 3-part breath and begin to anchor yourself with it. The second thing is focusing awareness. Keep your focus on something simple. The air moving in and out of the nostrils is one area. You sometimes, when I'm at the dentist, I'm going to get some drilling in a tooth, and the novocaine hasn't quite set in. I'll feel the one calf press against the other calf, and I focus my awareness on the comfort that I can feel in my crossed legs pressing against each other, nurturing each other. If I keep my awareness there and then notice when the drill sounds or the little twinge occurs, then I go back to the place where I can feel that grounding touch. That's my focal awareness. And then using those gentle movements of the spine to just loosen yourself at work, moving 6 ways, you know, taking a counter stretch to the posture that we're always stuck in, bringing the shoulders back and down, releases. Those are things that you can do to um, manage the intensity of your day. And then these other 2 practices, looking at, these self-care practices and the resilience practice, turning catastrophe into puzzle, finding the group who will help you, who's your team, making the puzzle pieces clear. So the ones out of your control, you pray about and let go. The ones in your control, you're responsible for. Do what you can. I mentioned I put this little map that we use at BMC that gives us a sense of the pandemic. This information, this transparency of, of information is a self-care process that allows us to know what's the percentage of the virus showing up in people who have symptoms or not at a certain period of time, how many people have antibodies, what's the surge, what's the capacity of the hospital at this moment in time to meet the challenge, is the exacerbation on the eastern part of the state and in Springfield coming our way? These are just simple self care practices to be well informed. We've used these things that we've practiced today in a test we did a number of years ago. It was actually in 2012 or 2013, where the University of Connecticut and Kripalu and Berkshire Medical Center worked like a team to study, could we improve physical and mental health and frontline mental health care providers using yoga-based stress management, which I just did a tiny piece of with you, versus a cognitive behavioral stress management. These were some of the people who participated in some of the groups that worked together, some of our BHS staff from all different sorts who had fun together doing yoga practices and things like we just did. We found that in our study, people's physical well-being improved, fruit and vegetable intake increased, alcohol intake decreased, heart rate decreased, across the group relaxation and awareness, compassion, improve compassion satisfaction, burnout decreased, depression scores decreased, stress scores decreased. This is a team of one of my yoga classes, having some fun inside Warrior, enjoying the playfulness of it. This is the same group. Once we do all those postures and sort of turn off the muscles, the people can fall into a deep relaxation. 10 minutes of this is worth an hour and a half of sleep, shavasana. What we were doing in our practice earlier today, you'd think of as a neuroscientist as moving from the default mode into presentness. And if you look at the way brain scans teach us about the way the brain actually works, these would be perfusion scans of activity in the brain. And there's three sort of major networks that our mind is flowing in and out of all day long. There's the salience network that over here at the top, where the brain is organized to orient to stimuli, level of arousal, what motivates us or not, and we're using that to guide us to what to pay attention to. And then we flow into other modes. The central executive network is when we're problem solving. What do we know about this thing we're dealing with? What's gone wrong in the past? What, we assess a problem and decide what we're going to do about it. And the default mode is more of a place of worry. The default mode is, what's my social standing? What's my economic standing? What went wrong in the past that will go wrong in the future? That's the place where when you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't sleep and you're going over and over some kind of problem and it gets bigger and bigger, that's the default mode just activated. And so, what we're trying to do when we focus our awareness and go into that deep breath is settle into a presentness where we become absorbed in the moment. And it's a practice that we have control over. Our brain is much more efficient when we do that. I'll share a few slides and then maybe a closing meditation. But, T.S. Eliot in Four Quartets says, "The river is within us, the sea is all about us." as we've kind of I sort of integrate sometimes dream imagery into mandala paintings. An owl is going to come and kill me, and just at the moment when I'm annihilated, it lands on my shoulder and becomes my friend. And I think Athena, the goddess, is on my side. I'll be okay. I'm part of something bigger than myself. You could flow through the Berkshires, these moments in nature at sunrise and sunset, the angle of light on moss on a hike, the vegetables we grow in our garden and get to take in, you know, East Road on a fall night. Uh, Takes us back almost to the Hudson River School. Uh, a moonrise over a house in the evening in the Berkshires. These things are all around us. Part of our resilience is that nobody cries alone. We recruit a crew to help us when we face challenge. We're lifeboats to each other. We partner with each other. A couple poems I'll just share with you from, well, I'll share two with you. Here's one from Dana Folds. Walk slowly. It only takes a reminder to breathe, a moment to be still. And just like that, something in me settles, softens, makes space for imperfection. The harsh voice of judgment drops to a whisper, and I remember again that life isn't a relay race, that we all will cross the finish line, that waking up to life is what we were born for. As many times as I forget to catch myself charging forward without even knowing where I'm going, that many times I can make the choice to stop, to breathe, and be, and walk slowly into the mystery. And then I'll share this is a couple of pets I was taking care of, Big Bernie's mountain dog and a cat, a little black rescue cat that I was taking care of. And they find when I settle, they always come over and like to go to sleep, nudge up and fall asleep right there. So may you be safe, may you be happy, may you live with a balance of effort and ease. The pets know how to do this with us. I'm going to just show you one other thing that seems particularly apt at this moment. This is a transcendent passage, I would say. Ulysses S. Grant, from his memoirs, 1885, 5 days before he passed away. I feel that we are on the eve of a new era when there is to be great harmony between the federal and the Confederate. I cannot stay to be a living witness to the correctness of this prophecy, but I feel within me that it is to be so. The universally kind feeling expressed for me at a time when it was supposed to be that each day would prove my last seemed to me the beginning of the answer to let us have peace. The expressions of these kindly feelings were not restricted to a section of the country nor to a division of the people. They came from individual citizens of all nationalities, from all denominations, the Protestant, the Catholic, and the Jew, and from the various societies of the land, scientific, educational, religious, or otherwise. Politics did not enter into the matter at all. I am not egotist enough to suppose all this significance should be given because I was the object of it. But the war between the states was a very bloody and very costly war. One side or the other had to yield principles they deemed dearer than life before it could be brought to an end. I commanded the whole of the mighty host engaged on the victorious side. I was, no matter whether deservedly so or not, a representative of that side of the controversy. It is a significant and gratifying fact that Confederates should have joined heartily in this spontaneous move. I hope the good feeling inaugurated may continue to the end. So that was his hope after the terrible Civil War. And this poem by Teilhard de Chardin, above all, trust in the slow work of God. We are quite naturally impatient in everything to reach the end without delay. We should like to skip the intermediate stages. We are impatient of being on the way to something unknown, something new. Yet we must progress through this and be incomplete and in suspense. So let's practice these 5 tools of resilience. And I'll pause for a moment here. We've got about 5 minutes. And if anybody has any question, I'll take those. Or you may just want to be quiet and breathe. So I'll stop the presentation, and you may just want to use some of your deep breathing and witnessing. Thank you. So Christine Thompson writes, "Hi, Alex. So good to see your smiling face. And you bring a smile to my face. I can't see you, but it's nice to know you're out there. Thank you." Got a few more questions. Stephanie Martin writes, "Thank you." And thank you. May the light in me honor the light in you. Namaste. Georgia writes to us, "Thanks, Alex. I truly enjoyed the presentation, and I enjoyed doing it with you, even though I couldn't see you." Yeah, thank you. Susan Frischlier writes, "Thank you. So relaxing. We need this right now. I needed it too, and I do need it. So please use it some more. There's a lot of challenge ahead. Thank you."